Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins, an ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. First up, the 1941 Jefferson nickel is a coin that wears its era on its face. Struck in the calm before America's full entry into World War II, it carries the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello on the reverse, images that link a mid-20th century everyday coin to the founding ideals of the Republic. Though the United States adopted a decimal monetary system back in the 1790s, the Jefferson nickel represents a distinctly modern chapter in that long decimal tradition. A practical, mass-produced circulating coin, meant for everyday transactions, yet executed with an eye toward dignified design and durable metallurgy. In a YouTube script, this coin makes for compelling storytelling because it sits at the intersection of ordinary life and historical change. People use these nickels in pocket change, payphones, and shop counters, while the world around them moved towards seismic geopolitical shifts. That plainness is part of its charm. When you hold a well-worn 1941 nickel, you're literally touching an object that moved through dozens of hands and everyday American stories before finding its way to a collector's cabinet. Metal composition is fundamental to understanding why collectors prize specific years, and the 1941 Jefferson nickel's makeup is an important piece of its identity. Unlike the wartime silver, nickels produced a little later, 1942-1945, that contained silver to conserve nickel, the 1941 issues are the classic pre-war alloy, principally copper with a substantial nickel content, traditionally 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin a silvery appearance but a core of copper that affects wear patterns, toning, and how the coin ages. That copper-dominant structure means that, in very dirty or heavily circulated condition, the surfaces can show lingering reddish tints where copper beneath the outer layer is exposed, or uneven toning where pockets of grime and environmental exposure have reacted differently. For viewers who like tactile details, explain how the alloy choice influences edge wear and relief softness. Those physical clues help experienced collectors quickly separate a common, well-worn example from something that might hide better than expected detail, and sometimes value. Rarity is always a nuanced word in numismatics, and that nuance makes for great script material. A 1941 Jefferson nickel in very dirty condition is, at first glance, a common sight in coin jars and estate lots, but rarity in market terms often depends on survivorship of higher-grade pieces and particular mint varieties. There are collectors and dealers who will tell you that quality examples, those that escaped heavy circulation and show clear devices and minimal contact marks, are increasingly scarce because mass circulation favored heavy wear. When you place a very fine or better 1941 nickel beside a typical worn example, the difference in detail is dramatic, and that gap in the supply of higher-grade survivors is what can push market prices upward. So while dirty examples are everywhere, the story of scarcity becomes compelling when you explain that the coins capable of commanding top-dollar bids are the relatively few that avoided the ravages of everyday commerce. Market value is where the drama peaks for many viewers. Numbers translate the story into tangible stakes. You asked for a range, and it's useful in a script to treat that range as a working envelope. In heavily circulated, unremarkable condition, the coin's value is modest, but clean, well-struck, or rare variation examples can reach serious sums. Framing the 1,000,9,000 plus range as the realm of premium museum quality or certified high-grade pieces helps the audience grasp why some Jefferson nickels transcend their face value. Explain that provenance, exceptional eye appeal, and professional grading certification can magnify a coin's market reception. An attractively toned 1941 nickel in a top grading tier becomes collectible because it both tells a story and satisfies exacting quality criteria that collectors and investors prize. That combination of scarcity and high grade and demand creates the conditions for headline-grabbing auction results and steady dealer interest. Investment potential is a concept you want to explore candidly. Rare coins are not a get-rich-quick scheme, but an alternative asset class that rewards patience, knowledge, and discernment. A 1941 Jefferson nickel that's been expertly conserved or certified, and that exhibits scarce characteristics can appreciate over time as collectors chase high-grade survivals, and as historical interest in mid-century American coinage grows. In a script, emphasize that coins have unique risk-return profiles. They're tangible, portable, and historically resilient, but pricing can be illiquid and influenced by collector trends, economic conditions, and auction visibility. Make it clear that investing in a single standout nickel is different from speculating on broad runs. The former requires research, networked market access, and sometimes the luck of discovery, while the latter benefits from diversification across dates and grades. Practical tips for collectors will make your viewers feel empowered rather than overwhelmed. Stress the central importance of condition. The difference between very dirty and very fine can be the difference between pocket change and premium investment, and explain how to read grading narratives. Look at device strength, strike quality, contact marks, and tunning. Certification matters. Encourage listeners to seek coins graded by respected services, because an independent grade removes much of the uncertainty and greatly increases trust among buyers and sellers. Advise joining numismatic communities, local clubs, online forums, and reputable auction houses to gain provenance insights, spotting tips, and reliable dealers. Remind viewers that handling etiquette, wearing gloves, avoiding cleaning, storing in inert holders preserves value. The worst thing a novice can do is scrub a coin in an attempt to clean it, which frequently destroys collector value. The historical and numismatic significance of the Jefferson nickel extends beyond metal content and market chatter. It occupies a chapter in the story of American coin design, where the mint sought to balance classical inspiration with modern circulation needs, and the Jefferson series became a mainstay of everyday commerce for decades. That continuity is crucial when you explain why collectors prize these coins. They are not merely small metal discs but cultural artifacts that link ordinary daily life, buses, phone booths, school lunches, to the broader sweep of American history. For numismatists who study composition changes, minting techniques, and die varieties, the 1941 nickel is a reference point, sitting just before wartime experimentation and after the mint's earlier 20th century evolutions. Its presence in collections helps tell an uninterrupted story of American monetary and aesthetic choices. Finally, close your script by widening the lens. The Jefferson nickel holds cultural symbolism and international appeal that make it more than a national curiosity. To international collectors, the coin is a miniature ambassador of American history, the face of a founding father, a neoclassical home, and a tangible link to everyday life in a pivotal era. Over the long term, coins that combine historical resonance, attractive physical characteristics, and a limited supply of high-grade survivors have shown a propensity to appreciate in value, especially as global collecting communities expand, and as new generations discover the tactile satisfaction of numismatics. Encourage viewers to see the 1941 Jefferson nickel as both a piece of metal and a vessel of stories. A small, storied object whose worth to the right hands can grow with time, care, and the ever-present human hunger to own a piece of history. When you continue exploring the 1941 Jefferson nickel, Its appeal deepens as you consider how even a very dirty example can act as a doorway into deeper numismatic study. Dirt, oxidation, and surface grime are not merely flaws. They are records of circulation, environment, and human handling across decades. For seasoned collectors, these surface clues can hint at originality, untouched patina, and the absence of harsh cleaning, all of which matter greatly in valuation. In a YouTube narrative, this is a powerful angle. What looks unattractive to the untrained eye can actually be evidence of authenticity and honest wear. A nickel that has survived unchanged for over 80 years, even in rough condition, carries a quiet credibility that cleaned or altered pieces often lose forever. Another layer of fascination lies in how the 1941 Jefferson nickel reflects America's economic psychology just before wartime transformation. In 1941, coins still flowed freely through commerce, and few imagined that metal compositions would soon change due to wartime necessity. This gives the 1941 nickel a last of the normal character, enhancing its historical weight. Collectors often value coins that sit on the edge of transition, and this nickel fits that role perfectly. When you explain this in detail, viewers begin to understand why demand grows steadily. It is not just about rarity, but about narrative positioning in history. Coins that symbolize stability before disruption often command emotional as well as financial premiums. From a market behavior perspective, Jefferson nickels from key early years have benefited from renewed attention as collectors shift focus from only gold and silver to historically meaningful base metal coinage. This shift has helped elevate top-condition examples into the four-figure and even higher price brackets. As grading populations tighten and fewer pristine pieces remain available, competition among advanced collectors intensifies. Even coins discovered in very dirty condition sometimes surprise their owners after professional conservation and grading, revealing sharp details beneath decades of buildup. This element of discovery fuels collector excitement and keeps the market dynamic, reinforcing why the 1941 Jefferson nickel remains relevant in modern auctions and private sales. Culturally, Thomas Jefferson's image on a humble 5-cent piece reinforces the democratic ideal that national identity belongs in everyday hands, not only in monuments or museums. This symbolism resonates strongly with collectors around the world, especially those who admire how American coinage places founding principles into daily circulation. International demand is driven not only by scarcity, but by recognition. Jefferson is a globally known historical figure, and Monticello is an architectural icon. As global collecting communities grow through online platforms and cross-border auctions, the 1941 Jefferson nickel increasingly finds buyers far beyond the United States, adding an international dimension to its long-term desirability. In the long view, the 1941 Jefferson nickel stands as a lesson in patience and perspective. Coins like this rarely explode in value overnight. Instead, they reward careful selection, proper storage, and historical understanding over decades. As fewer original examples survive in high grades, and as educational content brings new collectors into the hobby, appreciation tends to follow a steady upward path. Ending your video on this note reinforces a powerful message, that true value lies not only in price tags, but in the enduring connection between history, culture, and tangible objects. The 1941 Jefferson nickel, even when discovered dirty and overlooked, embodies that connection and continues to grow in significance with every passing year. Second, the 1943 Jefferson nickel stands as a powerful artifact of American history, struck at the height of World War II when the nation's economy, industry, and daily life were shaped by global conflict. Although the United States had adopted a decimal monetary system generations earlier, this coin represents the maturity of that system in a time of crisis, when even small denomination coins played a role in national stability. Featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, the design connects wartime America directly to its founding ideals, reminding citizens of endurance, independence, and continuity. A very dirty 1943 Jefferson nickel, darkened by decades of circulation and environmental exposure, carries visual proof of that era's intensity, making it especially compelling for collectors who value authenticity and historical presence over surface perfection. The metal composition of the 1943 Jefferson nickel is central to its story and desirability. Unlike earlier and later issues, this wartime nickel was struck using a copper-based alloy modified to conserve strategic materials, meaning copper still formed the majority of its structure even as other metals were introduced. This copper-rich foundation affects how the coin ages, often producing deep gray, brown, or smoky toning when left uncleaned. In very dirty condition, the surfaces may appear dull or crusted, yet beneath that grime can lie sharply defined details and original mint characteristics. For experienced numismatists, such untouched surfaces are often preferred, as they indicate the coin has not been altered, polished, or damaged, preserving its historical integrity and potential market value. Rarity plays a decisive role in elevating the 1943 Jefferson nickel from a common wartime coin to a highly sought-after collectible. While millions were minted for circulation, survival in very fine or higher condition is far less common due to heavy wartime use and decades of handling. Coins that retain strong detail on Jefferson's hair, facial contours, and the architectural lines of Monticello are increasingly scarce. This scarcity becomes even more meaningful when paired with originality, as many surviving examples were harshly cleaned in the past. As a result, a genuinely original 1943 nickel with minimal wear and honest patina occupies a much smaller population, driving competition and strong premiums among advanced collectors. Market value is where this coin story becomes especially dramatic for audiences. Although a heavily worn or damaged example may appear insignificant, certain 1943 Jefferson nickels, particularly those with exceptional preservation, rare mint characteristics, or professional certification, have achieved market values ranging from $1,000 to $9,000 or more. These prices reflect not just condition, but demand driven by historical importance, limited high-grade survivors, and collector confidence. In auctions, such coins often attract intense bidding, especially when accompanied by third-party grading that confirms authenticity and quality. This wide value range reinforces an important lesson. In numismatics, small differences in condition can translate into enormous differences in worth. From an investment perspective, the 1943 Jefferson nickel represents a blend of historical significance and tangible scarcity that appeals to long-term collectors and investors alike. Coins tied to pivotal moments in history often maintain strong demand because they resonate emotionally as well as financially. As interest in wartime American coinage continues to grow, particularly among international buyers, premium examples are increasingly viewed as alternative assets. While the market can fluctuate, well-chosen, properly certified pieces have shown steady appreciation over time, especially as fewer original high-grade coins remain available. Patience and selectivity are key, as true investment-quality coins reveal their strength over years rather than months. For collectors seeking to enter or advance in this area, understanding condition and certification is essential. Evaluating wear patterns, strike quality, and surface originality requires study, and professional grading provides a trusted benchmark that protects both buyers and sellers. Joining numismatic communities, whether local clubs, online forums, or established auction networks, helps collectors share knowledge, track market trends, and avoid costly mistakes. Proper storage and handling are equally important, as even minor damage can significantly affect value. The 1943 Jefferson nickel rewards those who treat it not as spare change, but as a historical object deserving care and respect. Within numismatic history, the 1943 Jefferson nickel occupies a unique and irreplaceable position. It symbolizes adaptation under pressure, showing how the U.S. Mint responded creatively to wartime demands without abandoning national identity or artistic standards. Studying this coin offers insight into metallurgy, economic policy, and public morale during one of the most challenging periods in modern history. For historians and collectors alike, it serves as a reference point for understanding how coinage reflects broader social and political realities, making it far more than a simple 5-cent piece. On a cultural level, the 1943 Jefferson nickel carries symbolism that transcends borders. Jefferson's image represents ideals of liberty and intellectual independence that resonate globally, while the coin's wartime origins give it universal historical relevance. International collectors are increasingly drawn to such pieces because they embody shared human experiences of conflict, resilience, and recovery. Over the long term, coins that combine strong symbolism, historical depth, and genuine scarcity tend to appreciate steadily as global interest expands. Even when found in very dirty condition, the 1943 Jefferson nickel holds the potential to evolve from overlooked relic to prized collectible, proving that true value often lies hidden beneath the surface. Looking more closely at a very dirty 1943 Jefferson nickel, one begins to appreciate how surface grime can actually enhance its storytelling power rather than diminish it. The darkened layers of oxidation and dirt often settle into recessed areas, protecting fine details while giving the coin a dramatic, aged appearance. For experienced collectors, this kind of natural aging suggests originality, something increasingly rare in a market flooded with cleaned or altered coins. In a YouTube script, emphasizing this point helps viewers understand why dirty does not mean worthless, and why many professionals prefer an untouched coin with honest wear over one that has been artificially brightened and stripped of its historical character. Another important dimension is the role this coin played in daily American life during wartime rationing and uncertainty. In 1943, every coin mattered, and the Jefferson nickel moved constantly through hands that were buying food, paying for transport, and supporting local economies under stress. This everyday utility gives the coin emotional weight. It is not an abstract relic, but a tool that helped people navigate difficult times. Collectors often respond strongly to this human connection, and such emotional resonance contributes quietly but powerfully to long-term demand. Coins tied to lived experience tend to hold collector interest longer than purely decorative issues. From a broader market perspective, the growing popularity of mid-20th century U.S. coinage has elevated Jefferson nickels into a more serious collecting category than they once occupied. As top-tier examples disappear into long-term collections, availability on the open market tightens. This scarcity dynamic supports higher valuations and increases competition at auction, particularly for coins with strong eye appeal and trusted certification. Even collectors who once focused solely on precious metal coinage are now recognizing the historical and financial value of exceptional base metal issues, pushing demand for standout 1943 Jefferson nickels even further. Educational value is another reason this coin continues to attract attention. For new collectors, the 1943 Jefferson nickel serves as an accessible yet sophisticated entry point into numismatics, offering lessons in grading, metallurgy, historical context, and market behavior. For advanced collectors, it presents ongoing challenges in locating truly original, high-quality examples. This layered appeal ensures a steady influx of interest from multiple levels of the collecting community, strengthening the coin's position in the market and reinforcing its importance within American numismatic study. In the long run, the 1943 Jefferson nickel's combination of wartime heritage, cultural symbolism, and diminishing supply of high-grade survivors positions it for sustained appreciation. As global awareness of U.S. history expands and as digital platforms connect collectors worldwide, coins like this gain new audiences and renewed relevance. Ending on this perspective underscores a key message for viewers, that beneath years of dirt and wear lies a durable store of history and value, one that continues to grow as time passes and as fewer authentic examples remain available to future generations. Third, the 1944 Jefferson nickel is deeply rooted in the atmosphere of a nation fully engaged in World War II, and that historical setting gives the coin a gravity that far exceeds its modest 5-cent face value. Struck during a time when American industry, labor, and resources were stretched to their limits, this coin circulated through a society defined by sacrifice and resilience. Although the decimal system had long been established in the United States, the Jefferson nickel represents the everyday functioning of that system during extraordinary circumstances, when even small change played a role in maintaining economic continuity. Featuring Thomas Jefferson's dignified portrait and the stately image of Monticello, the coins symbolize stability and national identity at a moment when uncertainty dominated daily life, making it a powerful historical artifact for modern collectors. The composition of the 1944 Jefferson nickel is one of its most defining and fascinating attributes. While wartime pressures influenced metal usage, copper remained a central element of the alloy, giving the coin distinctive aging characteristics over the decades. In very dirty condition, the copper-rich nature often reveals itself through deep gray, brown, or charcoal-toned surfaces, sometimes with subtle warmth beneath the grime. These layers of natural buildup are not merely signs of neglect. They are physical records of time, environment, and circulation. For knowledgeable collectors, such untouched surfaces can be more desirable than artificially cleaned coins, because they preserve originality and confirm that the piece has not been altered, a crucial factor in determining authenticity and long-term value. Rarity is where the 1944 Jefferson nickel begins to separate itself from the perception of being a common wartime issue. While millions were produced, the vast majority entered heavy circulation, resulting in significant wear and loss of detail. Surviving examples in very fine condition, especially those that retain strong definition in Jefferson's hair and facial features as well as clear architectural lines on Monticello, are increasingly scarce. This scarcity is compounded by the fact that many coins were cleaned or mishandled over the years, reducing the population of truly original pieces. As collectors become more selective and grading standards more refined, these well-preserved survivors stand out sharply against the mass of worn examples. Market value reflects this imbalance between demand and availability. Although a very dirty 1944 Jefferson nickel might initially appear unremarkable, certain examples, particularly those with exceptional preservation, rare mint characteristics, or professional certification, have achieved market prices ranging from $1,000 to $9,000 or more. These valuations are driven not only by condition, but by confidence, as certified coins eliminate doubts about authenticity and grade. Auction results and private sales consistently demonstrate that collectors are willing to pay significant premiums for coins that combine wartime history, originality, and visual appeal. This dramatic spread in value makes the 1944 Jefferson nickel an excellent illustration of how numismatics rewards careful evaluation rather than surface impressions. From an investment standpoint, the 1944 Jefferson nickel offers a compelling balance of historical importance and tangible scarcity. Coins associated with pivotal moments in history often maintain enduring demand, especially when they remain accessible compared to gold or high-denomination rarities. As interest in World War II-era artifacts continues to expand, premium Jefferson nickels are increasingly viewed as long-term holds rather than short-term trades. Their potential for appreciation lies in the shrinking supply of high-grade, original examples and the steady influx of new collectors drawn to historically meaningful pieces. For investors who value patience and research, this coin represents a disciplined entry into numismatic investment. Collectors seeking to pursue the 1944 Jefferson nickel seriously must focus on condition, grading accuracy, and community engagement. Understanding how wear patterns affect value, recognizing the difference between natural tunning and damage, and relying on respected third-party certification are essential steps. Professional grading not only protects buyers, but also enhances resale potential by establishing trust in the marketplace. Joining numismatic communities, whether through clubs, forums, or established dealers, allows collectors to exchange knowledge, track market trends, and refine their judgment. These shared networks often provide insights that cannot be gained from solitary collecting and help prevent costly mistakes. Within the broader scope of numismatic history, the 1944 Jefferson nickel holds a special place as a symbol of adaptation and continuity. It reflects how the U.S. Mint maintained consistent design and monetary function despite wartime pressures and material challenges. Studying this coin offers insight into how nations preserve identity through everyday objects, even during periods of global upheaval. For historians and collectors alike, the coin serves as a tangible link between economic policy, industrial capability, and public morale, reinforcing its importance beyond simple collectability. Culturally and internationally, the 1944 Jefferson nickel resonates far beyond American borders. Thomas Jefferson's image represents ideals of liberty, intellect, and self-governance that are widely recognized around the world, while the coin's wartime origin gives it universal historical relevance. As global numismatic interest grows through digital platforms and international auctions, demand for such historically rich U.S. coins continues to expand. Over the long term, pieces that combine strong symbolism, documented scarcity, and authentic preservation tend to appreciate steadily. Even when discovered in very dirty condition, the 1944 Jefferson nickel carries the potential to evolve into a prized collectible, proving that time, history, and careful stewardship can transform an overlooked coin into a lasting store of value. When examining a very dirty 1944 Jefferson nickel more closely, collectors often find that the layers of grime and oxidation act almost like a protective shell. Dirt that has accumulated naturally over decades can shield the metal from further damage, preserving fine details that might otherwise have been worn away. This is why experienced numismatists are cautious about cleaning such coins. Removing these layers can strip away original surfaces and permanently reduce value. In a YouTube narrative, this idea helps viewers rethink what they see, teaching them that age and wear can be indicators of authenticity rather than flaws, especially for wartime issues like the 1944 nickel. Another compelling aspect of the 1944 Jefferson nickel is its emotional connection to the people who once carried it. During 1944, families on the home front were deeply involved in the war effort, managing ration books, writing letters to soldiers, and maintaining daily routines under constant uncertainty. This coin passed through countless hands in grocery stores, factories, and train stations, silently witnessing moments of sacrifice and resilience. That human dimension gives the nickel a story that modern collectors find deeply engaging, as it transforms the coin from a simple monetary unit into a tangible piece of lived history. From a market dynamics standpoint, the growing appreciation for mid-century U.S. coinage has brought renewed attention to Jefferson nickels of the wartime period. As collectors become more educated, demand shifts away from only visually flashy coins toward those with genuine historical substance. High-grade or exceptionally original 1944 Jefferson nickels are increasingly absorbed into long-term collections, reducing public availability and reinforcing higher price levels. This tightening supply, combined with steady collector interest, creates favorable conditions for sustained value growth and continued relevance in the numismatic marketplace. Educationally, the 1944 Jefferson nickel serves as a valuable reference point for understanding grading standards and wartime minting practices. New collectors learn to evaluate strike quality, surface texture, and wear by studying such coins, while advanced collectors appreciate the subtle variations that distinguish ordinary examples from exceptional ones. This educational role helps maintain consistent interest across generations, ensuring that knowledge and appreciation of the coin continue to evolve rather than fade. Looking toward the future, the long-term outlook for the 1944 Jefferson nickel remains strong. As fewer untouched examples survive and as global collecting communities expand, the coin's combination of historical significance, cultural symbolism, and physical durability positions it well for continued appreciation. Ending on this perspective reinforces an important message for viewers, that even a small, dirty 5-cent piece can embody enduring value when history, scarcity, and human connection converge in a single object. Fourth, the 1945 Jefferson nickel carries extraordinary historical weight because it was struck in the final year of World War II, a moment when the world was transitioning from conflict to recovery. This coin circulated during a time of relief, uncertainty, and hope, when soldiers were returning home and economies were beginning to stabilize. Although the United States had embraced the decimal system long before, the Jefferson nickel represents how that system functioned under the pressure of global war and immediate post-war adjustment. Featuring Thomas Jefferson's enduring portrait and the image of Monticello, the coin symbolized continuity and democratic ideals at a time when those values had been fiercely defended. A very dirty 1945 Jefferson nickel, darkened by decades of handling and exposure, visually embodies that passage from wartime hardship to peacetime rebuilding, making it deeply meaningful to collectors who value historical context. The metal composition of the 1945 Jefferson nickel is a critical factor in its identity and appeal. Copper plays a dominant role in the alloy, giving the coin its distinctive aging behavior and surface character. Over time, copper-rich coins tend to develop deep, complex tunning, especially when left untouched, resulting in dark gray, brown, or nearly black surfaces in very dirty condition. These layers of natural grime and oxidation are often misunderstood by casual observers, but advanced collectors recognize them as signs of originality. The copper content influences how wear appears, how details soften, and how the coin reacts to its environment, all of which are closely examined when assessing authenticity and value. In many cases, a dirty but original surface is far more desirable than a bright coin that has been cleaned and stripped of its historical skin. Rarity becomes a defining theme when discussing the 1945 Jefferson nickel in very fine condition. While large numbers were minted to support everyday commerce, the reality of heavy circulation meant that few examples survived with strong detail intact. Coins from this year were used extensively during a period of intense economic activity, accelerating wear and surface damage. As a result, specimens that retain sharp features on Jefferson's portrait and clear definition on Monticello are increasingly scarce. This scarcity is magnified by decades of improper cleaning and storage, which permanently altered many surviving coins. Truly original, well-preserved examples now represent only a small fraction of the original mintage, elevating their status within the collecting community. Market value reflects this imbalance between surviving quality examples and growing collector demand. Although a very dirty 1945 Jefferson nickel might initially appear ordinary certain specimens, especially those with exceptional preservation, rare mint characteristics, or professional certification, have reached market values ranging from $1,000 to $9,000 or more. These prices are driven by more than appearance. They reflect confidence in authenticity, grade, and historical significance. Certified examples often command the highest premiums because grading removes uncertainty and establishes trust in the marketplace. For many viewers, this dramatic difference between face value and collector value reinforces how numismatics rewards knowledge, patience, and careful evaluation. From an investment perspective, the 1945 Jefferson nickel offers an appealing blend of accessibility and long-term potential. Coins tied to pivotal historical moments often maintain steady demand because they resonate across generations. As interest in World War II era artifacts continues to grow, high-quality Jefferson nickels are increasingly seen as stable numismatic assets rather than speculative novelties. Their copper-based composition, historical relevance, and shrinking population of premium examples contribute to gradual appreciation over time. While not immune to market cycles, carefully selected and certified coins from this year have shown resilience and sustained interest among serious collectors and investors alike. Collectors pursuing the 1945 Jefferson nickel must pay close attention to condition, grading standards, and community knowledge. Understanding how wear patterns affect value, recognizing original surfaces, and relying on reputable third-party certification are essential practices. Professional grading provides clarity and protection, especially in a market where subtle differences can mean thousands of dollars in value. Joining numismatic communities through clubs, forums, or established dealers allows collectors to learn from shared experience, stay informed about market trends, and avoid costly errors. This collective knowledge strengthens both individual collections and the broader hobby. In the broader landscape of numismatic history, the 1945 Jefferson nickel represents a closing chapter of wartime coinage and the beginning of a new era. It illustrates how the U.S. Mint maintained consistent design and monetary function through extreme national stress, preserving identity and trust in everyday currency. For historians, the coin offers insight into economic resilience. For collectors, it serves as a tangible reminder that even the smallest denominations can carry immense historical significance. Its place in collections helps tell the story of how America transitioned from war to peace without abandoning the symbols that defined it. Culturally and internationally, the 1945 Jefferson nickel holds enduring appeal. Thomas Jefferson's image represents ideals of liberty, knowledge, and self-governance that resonate far beyond the United States, while the coin's association with the end of World War II gives it universal historical relevance. As global collecting communities expand through online platforms and international auctions, demand for such meaningful U.S. coins continues to rise. Over the long term, coins that combine cultural symbolism, authentic preservation, and historical importance tend to appreciate steadily. Even in very dirty condition, the 1945 Jefferson nickel stands as proof that value is often hidden beneath time-worn surfaces, waiting to be recognized by those who understand its story. When viewed closely, a very dirty 1945 Jefferson nickel often reveals subtle clues that excite experienced collectors. Beneath layers of dark tunning and embedded grime, original mint luster can sometimes still cling to protected areas near the lettering or within the recesses of Monticello. These hidden signs suggest that the coin has never been aggressively cleaned, a factor that can significantly influence desirability and value. In the numismatic world, originality is a scarce commodity, and coins that retain their natural aging are often favored over those altered for cosmetic appeal. This makes even heavily soiled examples worthy of careful examination rather than dismissal. The 1945 Jefferson nickel also captures a unique psychological moment in American history that few coins can match. As the war ended, optimism and uncertainty existed side by side, and this coin circulated through that emotional landscape. It was present in everyday moments of celebration, rebuilding, and adjustment, quietly facilitating commerce while symbolizing a return to normalcy. Collectors are often drawn to coins that embody transition, and this nickel stands as a marker between wartime sacrifice and peacetime renewal. That emotional resonance adds an intangible layer of value that complements its physical and historical attributes. Today's market, the renewed appreciation for historically grounded base metal coins has elevated Jefferson nickels into a more respected collecting category. As education within the hobby improves, collectors increasingly recognize that significance is not limited to precious metals. High-end examples of the 1945 Jefferson nickel, especially those with strong eye appeal and certified grades, are being absorbed into long-term collections, reducing availability and strengthening prices. This gradual tightening of supply supports the coin's upward value trajectory and reinforces its relevance in modern numismatics. For newer collectors, the 1945 Jefferson nickel serves as an excellent study piece that bridges affordability and sophistication. It encourages learning about grading nuance, metal behavior, historical context, and market psychology, all within a single coin type. Advanced collectors, meanwhile, continue to search for exceptional survivors that stand out among the heavily worn population. This dual appeal ensures that interest in the coin remains broad-based and sustainable, helping to preserve its standing across generations of collectors. Looking ahead, the long-term outlook for the 1945 Jefferson nickel remains compelling. As time passes, fewer original examples will survive without damage or alteration, while global awareness of World War II history continues to grow. This convergence of diminishing supply and expanding interest supports steady appreciation rather than fleeting speculation. Ending on this perspective reinforces a lasting truth for viewers, that even a small, dirty 5-cent coin can become a powerful vessel of history, culture, and enduring value when its story is understood and preserved.